Good morning. We have general questions. Question number 1, James Kelly.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government what the priorities of the 2013-14 draft budget are.
Cabinet Secretary John Swinney.
Presiding Officer, the priority of the 2013-14 draft budget is to support economic recovery by providing further investment in construction skills and the green economy.
James Kelly.
I thank the Cabinet Secretary for that answer. In my constituency on the ground, the ongoing challenges and implications of the budget are families living in overcrowded houses, languishing on ever-lengthening waiting lists, pensioners receiving cuts to their care packages, and that with a background of £3.3 billion of further cuts coming down the line. Can I therefore ask the Cabinet Secretary what he has done to examine the work of Campbell Christie and Crawford Beveridge, and when he will take those works out of his drawer to inform his ongoing budgeting process?
Cabinet Secretary.
I think if Mr Kelly had been engaged in any way in the parliamentary and discussion processes around the budget for the last 2 to 3 years, he would have seen that the Government has given very full consideration to the issues raised by the Independent Budget Review and the Christie Commission. And in my summation of the debate last night, I made clear the areas of the Independent Budget Review report, whether it's about the capital programme or about pay or about efficiency and rationalisation of public bodies, where the Government has taken very significant and controversial steps to ensure the sustainability of the public finances, or the Christie Commission, where the Government gave a full response to the Christie Commission as part of the budget process last year and increased the emphasis on preventative expenditure, on integration of local services, which is why we're bringing forward proposals on adult health and social care integration. So far from these reports being in the drawer, these reports are actively pursued by the Government, integrated into our budgeting processes, which of course has resulted in a balanced budget presided over by this administration since 2007-2008. Now, Mr Kelly has, of course, his opportunity to make his own contribution to the debate, and I look forward in the course of the next few weeks to hearing from Mr Kelly and his colleagues. I've sent the invitation by letter to Mr Macintosh of the way in which they want to change the budget to realise the new pro-Tory agenda of the Labour Party in Scotland.
Question number 2, Annabel Ewing.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government what assessment it has made of the discharge by local authorities of their obligations under the Flood Risk Management Scotland Act 2009.
Minister Paul Wheelhouse.
The Flood Risk Management Scotland Act 2009 sets out a challenging timescale for the preparation of flood risk management plans by December 2015. In conjunction with the Scottish Environment Protection Agency, the Scottish Government is providing support to local authorities and other responsible stakeholders to develop these plans and will help protect communities across Scotland.
Annabel Ewing.
I thank the Minister for his answer, and of course the Minister will be aware of the recent flooding in Comrie, and I can say that the overarching priority for the village going forwards is to get to the bottom of the problem and then to ensure that it is resolved. Can I ask the Minister, therefore, if he can take this issue up directly with the Chief Executive of Perth and Kinross Council to ensure that all steps that need to be taken are taken, and that as a matter of urgency?
Paul Wheelhouse.
I understand the member's concerns and will be speaking to the Chief Executive of Perth and Kinross Council, Bernadette Malone, this afternoon to discuss the best way forward for managing and responding to flood risk in the Comrie area.
Question number 3, Richard Baker.
To ask the Scottish Government what progress it is making in establishing an energy academy.
Minister Fergus Ewing.
Presiding Officer, the Scottish Government announced plans to develop a Scottish Energy Skills Academy within the budget statement on 20th September. We are currently working with relevant stakeholders, including those from industry, colleges, universities, skills bodies and the enterprise agencies to develop this new academy.
Richard Baker.
Thank the Minister for his answer. The investment in the Energy Academy is welcome, but I'd ask the Minister for further details. How many more people will receive training in skills for the energy industry as a result of this funding? How will the funding be allocated between the 4 institutions which have been announced as being involved? And how will the Academy be funded beyond next year?
Fergus Ewing.
Well, I'm pleased that the Labour Party welcomed this. I'm grateful for that because I think this is a really important venture for Scotland. The additional funding has been £3.25 million. The sensible course, Presiding Officer, which is how we plan to proceed, is that we have detailed discussions with all relevant stakeholders from industry, colleges, universities and the enterprise agencies as to how this is taken forward. I would point out, however, to respond directly to Richard Baker's point about additional numbers, that we've already ring-fenced 500 of our 25,000 modern apprenticeship starts for energy, and that's every year. And fairly recently, we committed a further £2 million, that's prior to the Skills Academy, to support an additional 1,000 flexible training places from the new Energy Skills Challenge Fund. And finally, we have provided funding of £1.9 million for the academic year to support an additional 300 funded university places in STEM topics. These three actions prior to the announcement about the Skills Academy show that we are seeking to rise to the challenge of the second major oil opportunity for this country.
Kevin Stewart.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I know that the Minister has a very good working relationship with energy companies. Can I ask what discussions the Government has had with the private sector regarding the Energy Skills Academy, and what input will there be from energy firms?
Minister.
Well, I thank Kevin Stewart for his answer, and I have had a great many discussions with the majority of the leading and many of the SME players in the oil and gas sector that are delivering such enormous success in the City of Aberdeen and Firth of Aberdeen. These discussions will continue. We will work very closely with, for example, OPITO and Oil and Gas UK. The main thing, I think, Presiding Officer, as we take forward this exciting new initiative, is we make sure that we proceed with the maximum buy-in, the maximum support, the maximum deliberation and consideration about how best we meet the enormous challenge, but the gigantic opportunities facing this country of the oil opportunity that is ahead of us, and the opportunities in particular for young people that this will bring.
Mary Scanlon.
Thank you. Very much welcome the Minister's response so far. Given the fact that there are 15 less women working offshore in the North Sea now than 5 years ago, will the Minister commit to doing everything possible to ensure that the Skills Academy offers the same careers opportunities to women as to men?
Minister.
Well, I'm delighted that Mary Scanlon has raised that point. It is absolutely apposite. I know that Maureen Watt has championed this issue on many occasions as well and continues to do so. I think that there is just massive scope for the oil industry employing more of the female half of the population. I would point out that companies such as Shell have already taken a number of steps to encourage females to enter the oil and gas industry. And the last thing I would say is that a far greater proportion now, as opposed to in Scotland's first oil opportunity in the 70s, a far greater proportion of the jobs in the oil and gas sector are actually not offshore. They are on land, in an office, designing the high-quality, top-quality, world-beating design and work in relation to subsea developments, and females are already playing a major part. So we want more women in the oil and gas industry in Scotland.
Lewis MacDonald.
Thank you very much, and I welcome much of what the Minister has had to say. He will be aware, I'm sure, of the PricewaterhouseCoopers report the other week, which said that for Aberdeen to achieve its potential as a world energy centre requires 120,000 additional skilled workers over the next 10 years. Will he confirm today that the Academy proposals that the Government has brought forward will support and build on the proposals from the universities and colleges in Aberdeen and Banff-and-Buchan in order to begin to address that enormous demand for skilled labour?
Minister.
Well, Lewis MacDonald raises a very apposite point. The Pricewaterhouse report identified that 120,000 jobs will be required to be filled over the next 10 years. What I would point out is that that figure includes the replacement of existing people who will be retiring, and that takes us up to nearly 100,000. The additional jobs are, broadly speaking, 20,000. And I think we need to give further study to that report, and it's not a criticism, but I think it's sensible to do that. But, Presiding Officer, I'm just delighted that the Labour Party in Scotland realises the huge opportunity that we have in this country to harness the huge wealth and opportunities that will flow from our massive oil and gas resources. And I'm delighted that the Labour Party are in support of the work we're doing. There and end.
Question number 4, Jimmy Dee.
To ask the Scottish Government what progress is being made through the Extended Hours Initiative to widen public access to out-of-hours GP services.
Presiding Officer, we're investing over £12 million to increase the opening hours of GP practices across Scotland to ensure that patients get more flexible access to health care. Extended Hours Enhanced Service was introduced in 2008, and in April we said we wanted to increase this figure further from 72%. Following the steps we've taken this year to relax some of the restrictions previously in place, our 2 largest health boards are reporting that over 80% of their practices are now participating in the Extended Hours scheme. I'm sure the member will agree this is a positive outcome, ensuring that patients continue to get more flexible access to health care.
Jimmy Dee.
Thank the Cabinet Secretary for that answer. In extending the hours of GP practices to widen access to health care for patients across Scotland, can he tell us what more can be done to encourage health boards to prioritise and incentivise wider access to extended hours in all areas of the country? And does he agree that it is a matter of deep regret that the Labour Party in Scotland, unlike their counterparts in Wales, seem determined to abandon the founding principle of the NHS that health care should be free at the point of delivery?
Cabinet Secretary.
Can I say, Presiding Officer, I absolutely agree with Jimmy Dee on his last point. I think people like Nye Bevan would have been absolutely astounded to hear Joanne Lamont sell out on the basic principle of the National Health Service. In answer to his first point, Presiding Officer, I expect all health boards to encourage and monitor uptake of the Extended Hours Initiative in their areas. Access is one of the priority areas that we'll be considering with the SGPC as we develop a more Scottish General Medical Services contract.
Question number 5, Alison Johnson.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government what action it is taking to ensure that school outdoor environments promote physical activity and healthy lifestyles.
Minister Alistair Allen.
The 2009 School Estate Strategy sets out a joint commitment between national and local government to create a school estate, both school buildings and grounds, which allows everyone to experience the full range of experiences and outcomes in the Curriculum for Excellence. Architecture and Design Scotland a further 20 to develop their outdoor play provision by 2015.
Alison Johnson.
I thank the Minister for the steps taken and the investment made so far. The link between access to natural play environments and a child's physical and cognitive well-being is well demonstrated. Your own guidance on outdoor learning references much of this, but it's often down to parents or enthusiastic teachers to fundraise and transform the tarmac deserts that many old school playgrounds are into stimulating green spaces. And, I very much welcome this individual action and community involvement. What is the Minister doing to help members of the community volunteer their enthusiasm, time and skills to the improvement of school grounds? And what action is the Government taking to ensure that in time all school children will have access to equally inspirational outdoor space?
Minister.
I very much welcome the member's commitment to the involvement of parents in all this. Part of my work is to phone round parent councils in Scotland, and an emerging theme is the willingness of parents to become involved in just the kind of work she suggests. We have a youth sports strategy which I think touches on these issues, but part of it as well comes down to our attitude towards outdoor education. And I don't want to suggest that we should celebrate Scotland's weather, but I think it's increasingly understood that we should understood play to involve outside play in perhaps a wider variety of weather.
Question number 6 by John Wilson has not been lodged. The member has provided an explanation. Question number 7, Dave Thompson.
To ask the Scottish Government what plans the Cabinet Secretary for Justice has to reduce the number of speeding offences on trunk roads.
Cabinet Secretary Kenny MacAskill.
The management of speed is a primary consideration of road authorities, police forces and safety camera partnerships. We will continue to fund the Scottish Safety Camera Programme, which brings together police, Transport Scotland and other partners to positively influence driver behaviour and reduce the number of speeding offences.
Dave Thompson.
The Cabinet Secretary will be aware that speeding is a real problem on the A9. Recently, I have noticed long queues of vehicles behind convoys of lorries doing 40 miles an hour on single carriageways, which leads to frustration and to motorists taking chances in order to pass. Does the Cabinet Secretary think that increasing the speed limit for lorries would help improve this situation, and can anything be done to prevent lorries bunching together?
Cabinet Secretary.
Road safety is our first priority. All vehicles should continue to leave a safe distance from the vehicle in front, irrespective of speed limits, and it will be for the police to enforce any instances where drivers act irresponsibly and break the law. Although we have new powers to control our own speed limits in Scotland for the 70 mile per hour and 60 mile per hour limits, and also for speed of different classes of vehicle, we have no current plans to increase speed limits. Consideration of speed limit increases would only take place when there is a clear, unambiguous and comprehensive evidence in favour of such a change. But I am aware of points made both by Mr Thompson and indeed by others, such as the Road Haulage Association, and these matters are kept under review.
Question number 8, Colin Beattie.
To ask the Scottish Government when the economic benefits of minimum pricing of alcohol will be evident.
Cabinet Secretary Alex Neil.
Presiding Officer, excessive alcohol consumption is estimated to cost Scots £3.6 billion each year, which equates to £900 for every adult in Scotland. The estimate of £3.6 billion includes £870 million in lost productivity, around £730 million in crime costs and around £270 million to the NHS. Not only does alcohol misuse burden our health service and police, it also has a terrible knock-on effect on our economic potential and on the families devastated by death and illness caused by alcohol. As a member will know, modelling carried out by Sheffield University shows substantial benefits after 1 year of the policy and even more after 10. So the sooner minimum pricing is implemented, the sooner we can start to see these benefits in terms of reduced health, crime and social harm.
Colin Beattie.
I thank the Cabinet Secretary for his response. In Midlothian alone last year, nearly £5 million was spent on social care as a result of alcohol-related harm. Would the Cabinet Secretary agree that minimum pricing, while essential, is only the beginning in attacking the binge-drinking pandemic in this country?
Cabinet Secretary.
Presiding Officer, I do agree that minimum pricing is only one measure in tackling alcohol abuse in Scotland, albeit a key measure. We have a framework that has over 40 measures which seek to reduce consumption, to support families and communities and to encourage more positive attitudes and positive choices and to improve treatment and support services.
Richard Simpson.
Does the Cabinet Secretary agree with me that it is disappointing that in the first full year after the ban on discounting introduced by the 2010 Act, a ban which the entire Parliament supported, that the reduction in consumption in Scotland is only 1% more than in England and not the 3.8% predicted by the Sheffield model? And will he invite the Sheffield University team to help us in determining why their predictions are not being fulfilled and what more can be done?
Cabinet Secretary.
Presiding Officer, as the member should know, that was intended to work along with minimum pricing, and by definition, until we get minimum pricing, we won't get the benefits that he's highlighted. I'm sure he already knows that.